there. Then I saw, shout out to Ronald Green, our comptroller now. And then I was like, Roland Martin, wait. It's Soledad O'Brien. She's actually in Houston. Welcome from
she's
CNN.
in the studio. It's incredible.
Right
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming so much. I got the Black in America 3 that's going down. I know that's the business that y'all are taking care of.
Yeah, we're here. We have a documentary called Almighty Debt that's going to air on October 21st. So that's what we were here talking about.
All right. So what made you want to tackle it this time from a debt perspective?
You know, we're really interested in looking at the Black church because it's such an important institution for African Americans. So for Black in America, we thought that would be our focus. And then as we would go and talk to these pastors at the same time when the economy was tanking, we'd realize that all they wanted to talk about was debt, and how to build Black wealth. And so that really became the focus of our story. This particular pastor in New Jersey, Pastor Buster Soares, who is pushing his congregation to lower their debt so they can build Black wealth at a time when the economy is terrible for everybody. It's just devastating to African Americans. I mean, it's wiping out Black wealth like we haven't seen before.
So did y'all see that story that says basically Black women are only worth $100 while their white counterparts are worth about $41,000 or worth $41,000? Did that kind of lend itself to the story at all?
We've been looking, I mean, unfortunately the statistics like that are all over the place. And yeah, you know, the gap between Black wealth and white wealth, the gap between what Black women earn and what their white counterparts earn, the gap between how many Black people go off to college and how much they can earn and white people, I mean, those numbers are all bad. And the only way to really fix it, I think, because we're already behind. I mean, slavery and Jim Crow set up a system where you were not being compensated. So you're 200 years behind to start. The only way to fix it is education, which you need loans to pay for. Right. So you got to lower the debt to increase the wealth. You know, a lot of Black people are middle income. But we're not middle class, which is a whole other thing. Sometimes people confuse the two.
Oh, what's the difference?
Well, middle income just means that you make a nice, chunk of change. But the minute the economy goes south and you lose that job, you cannot pay your bills.
Okay. That's true.
Well, it's better than lower class.
But
Next documentary, Soledad, I got you.
But if you have wealth, even if you don't have a ton of wealth, but if you have wealth, that's the padding that helps you survive a recession. And for example, white people, the white middle class exists because the government created the white middle class. They gave them homes at 0% mortgages, to enable to buy a home, and now those homes have increased in value. Levittown, Long Island, basically.
I wouldn't say middle class.
That's a community that was basically created. So now those homes are worth a lot of money. Because there's money in those homes, they can send their kids off to school. They can take out a loan for college, right, based on the value of their home. But if you don't have wealth, if you only have income, then you're in trouble the minute the economy goes south, which we're obviously seeing right now.
All right, we're talking to Ms. Soledad O'Brien, of course, from CNN. We have a Black in America 3, Almighty Debt.
They're not even calling that now. We call them Black in America specials.
Oh, the specials.
Yeah, they're going to add up after a while.
All right, when is it airing?
It airs October 21st, 8 p.m. here in Houston.
All right, and all these stats that you were talking about, the differences between Black Americans and white Americans and the education and the pay and all that, are they growing? Or
that's
is it really just
interesting.
the same?
It is a big gap, and I think the gap is getting worse. The gap is getting worse. And so I think that the only way to change, when we did our first documentary, we had an educator who said, education is the whole ballgame. Education is the next civil right. And I think that this Pastor Soares would say, he has said, debt is a kind of slavery. You're stuck. You cannot move forward. And so you have to figure your way out of that. And some of that is going to have to be programs that help people, honestly. But some of that also has to be personal responsibility and saying, what we learned in Katrina, when I covered Katrina, the one thing that became very clear the minute we got on the ground was no one's coming to get you.
Right.
No one. And 5 years later, when we went back to do our documentary on the 5th anniversary,
no one's
still coming to get you. But people in the community who decided they wanted to save their community had to get together and save their community.
Right.
No one was going to come in and say, "Oh, here, let's help you." So that's a downside, but it's also an upside. It's sort of like it's on you. Don't wait around. It's on you. And I think that's kind of can be an empowering message.
I think it's very empowering. But however, do you feel like the government or anybody is somewhat responsible for righting the wrongs of, the 200 years of enslavement, the Jim Crow, all that?
Yes. But will they? No.
So at the end
in
of the
a
day,
economy, no, they will not.
So
nobody's coming to get you.
Right. No one's. Should the government go in and rescue people who've been hit by a hurricane? Absolutely, positively, we would all say yes. Are they coming? No. Probably not anytime soon. Should those people who for 5 years been trying to rebuild their homes have opportunities to rebuild and be given some kind of financial compensation, just help? Yes. Did it happen for many people? No.
Nope. Well, we got right now CNN, Soledad O'Brien. We're going to come back in just a couple minutes and find out why you were hopping in here.
Yeah, wow.
We'll talk more.
Literally.
Literally. Like, we'll talk more about CNN's Black in America special. Of course, Almighty Dead. Soledad O'Brien's in the building. Manhattan Morning Show. It is 8:11. Alicia Keys, Drake, Unthinkable on 97.9 The Box. Good morning.
Yes.
But it is the third one, yeah. Almighty Dead will air on October 21st.
Do you get a lot of heat for, doing these Black in America specials?
Yeah, you do. But I mean, I think it starts a conversation, which ultimately is the goal. To me, the most important thing is, are you reporting fairly? Are you telling someone's individual story fairly? And no matter what, Black in America specials, we did a Gay in America special, which was called Gary and Tony Have a Baby. Same thing. I had every gay blogger, I hate this story, I love this story. Right. I think it means you've touched a nerve and you're sort of getting into the heart of the conversation. If you do that, if everybody ignores it, then you're really not making an impact.
Well, speaking of ignoring, Jimbo feels there's a story you haven't touched on
What's
yet.
That?
Oh, are you going to be able to do a Italian and Czechoslovakian in America?
Yes, that's next.
I've been waiting. I knew that Soledad that was on next on your list.
Yes, it is. Yes, coming right up.
What about a Dallas Cowboy fan who lives in Houston in America?
Oh. No, we're not doing that.
Don't waste your time on that one.
All right, so Soledad, who are some of the people that took part in this special, the Almighty Debt issue?
Reverend Soares, Pastor Soares, is the pastor who runs this church, First Baptist Church in Lincoln Gardens in New Jersey, and he's amazing. He's made it his obsession to try to get his congregants to lower their debt to the point where, because he feels, lower your debt, then you can build black wealth, and then that helps the church. Because he feels, this is only good for across the board. And we focus on a couple of families, the Jeffreys, who are on the verge of losing their home in foreclosure, a young man who's going off to college, trying to decide, college is so important for him, but how's he going to pay for it? And then another guy, Carl Fields, who after 25 years as a vice president in an insurance brokerage firm gets laid off. And he's almost 60 years old, and he's really trying to figure out how do you re-enter the job market at a terrible time. And the church really comes to his rescue to help him, not only spiritually, but also say, from a business perspective, the church can step in. Because, again, I think this is the new, no one's going to help you. We're going to have to help ourselves. And so the church says, we can build a community. We can do this ourselves.
All right, well, we have been Soledad O'Brien from CNN, of course, in the building. We ain't forgot. We got to do headlines real quick, but we're going to find out why Soledad came in here hopping in here on some crutches. Coming up next after headlines on 97 The Box.
So how old are your kids?
My daughters are 8 and 9.
All right, in the news, 8:18, good news continues to pour out.